It's time to pull those belts tight, race fans. The front stretch is coming at you, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. Now, here's Dan Taylor and Dirk Houston.
Well, good morning, race fans, and welcome to the front stretch, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs, online at joeskarting.com. That is Karting with a K. Gets Joe's today fast-paced, white-knuckle racing with eco-friendly Honda engines, where you are emitting less emissions as you take laps around the fastest indoor karting facility in the metro. Full studio today, Craig Kelley from Inserra Kelley Personal Injury Law Firm. Of course, former owner and track promoter for Sunset Speedway. Tom Gutowski, competition director for IMCA. And Stan Cisar, the voice of the Speedway throughout the sprint world and throughout Eagle Raceway's land, too. A lot of stuff going on today. We'll start with Craig. How you doing today, sir?
I'm good. How are you?
I am awesome. I'm loving this weather we're having. It's cool. It's not cold. It's almost October pretty much, but it's in August, so I'm digging it. Dirk, how you doing this morning, sir?
Just fine.
All right. Love it. Tip that up just a little bit and try to,
Just fine.
There we go. All right. That'll work. All right. Craig, we have you in the studio to talk to you about the whole Tony Stewart situation. I got my feelings on it, and so I thought, well, before I open my mouth and say something wrong, I better get somebody in who knows what he's talking about. And if you know anybody, we can get him in here real quick. Let's talk about this.
It's too early for that.
Let's talk about this whole Tony Stewart wrongful death lawsuit. I sent you some stuff earlier. We were kind of briefing a little bit before we went on the air. So walk me through what's going on with this whole wrongful death lawsuit.
The personal representatives for the Ward estate are probably his parents, and they've hired, I looked him up, a pretty good plaintiff's lawyer in New York, and they've filed a general negligence lawsuit resulting in wrongful death against Tony, and then I think they've also named some other defendants, the racetrack, the sanctioning body, et cetera, under a gross negligence theory to try and get around the release that he signed when he went in the pit area, or the restricted area, as they call it. You
talked about this comparative fault. Can you kind of talk about what comparative fault is?
Well, I think that the reason I think, and I'm a personal injury lawyer by day and representing people like the Ward estate, I think it's probably and I think I'm joined by most trial lawyers that it's a tough claim. And the reason is most jurisdictions now have comparative fault, and what that means is if it's 50-50, you lose. So the only way the Ward estate can win is if it's 51-49 or 60-40, Tony's negligence over his. And I just think that when you factor in some of the things like the THC, marijuana in his bloodstream and the levels that they're claiming it was, along with the fact that he got out of his race car and put himself in danger, which is how I would defend this case. I'm one of the things I always say in my opening and closing statements is, but for the actions of the defendant, my client wouldn't be injured. But for the actions of Mr. Ward, they wouldn't be in the courtroom. So I think the defense lawyer is going to be able to use a plaintiff's argument and say he put himself in the situation to get injured. So I think it's a tough claim from a comparative fault standard.
The THC in his system, we're in a society that is starting to accept marijuana, but that's society and not necessarily the courts. Is the THC going to be an end-all when they just say, you know what, he's got X amount of level of THC, and experts say that that's an amount to impair you? Is that going to be enough to where the court's going to say we don't need to hear anything else? Or is it going to be that there is a society that's beginning to accept marijuana?
Well, I don't think the THC is an end-all legally. Obviously, I think it's going to be a factor in how a jury would say, once again, in that comparative fault quotient. But the problem with THC, and it's in all motor vehicle accidents if there's testing done with these truckers and everything else, is the problem with THC is it stays in your bloodstream for 30 days or at least 20 days. And so it's a big problem. Somebody does what a drinker does on a Saturday night, and 5 days later they have a motor vehicle accident and they have THC in their system, but surely they're not any more impaired than the guy who had 3 beers at his buddy's house watching football on Saturday night. So I think the THC issue in the Ward case is going to come down to the levels, and they are getting a lot better based on levels at saying how long it's been since the THC was either ingested or inhaled. And so I think that's a factor in the claim. It's not a factor that would ever allow the court to dismiss it, but it is a factor, once again, that comes down to comparative fault. Did he have enough THC in him that it led him to get out of the car?
You're Tony Stewart's defendant. You're walking into this courtroom. What's your approach to this whole thing?
As his defense counsel?
Yeah.
Well, we talked about this a little bit earlier this morning. I think that, first of all, if I was Tony Stewart's defense counsel, I probably would have tried to resolve this outside of litigation a long time ago.
You don't think that would kind of imply maybe a little bit of guilt if he tried to settle outside of court, at least in public opinion?
Not if it's spun the right way.
Okay.
And I think that when you factor in the fact that if he went to them and got this done with a confidential settlement and they had a joint appearance and said they thanked Tony for taking care of the family and recognizing his value by a settlement, I think that overrides with sponsors and fans and the whole NASCAR world more than any stubborn admission of I didn't do anything wrong. And I think the biggest reason, and it's borne true over the last year, is you get it out of his mind and let him focus on being a race car driver again instead of being 28th in points and a back marker.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of surprised that Tony didn't do what you were talking about there. But then after the Ward family came out, after the New York District Attorney said, we're not going to be pressing charges against Tony, they came out and had some pretty poignant statements that I think maybe backed Tony off of approaching them.
Oh, they said some bad things, and they said some things that would make anybody that is of a competitive nature dig their heels in a little bit, maybe. But I would say, knowing Tony and his history with anger and how he does things, that I bet his defense team probably did tell him to try and end it. And whether you like Tony or not, and I'm kind of in the middle. He's a stubborn guy, and he always has been a stubborn guy, and so it was ultimately his decision, and he chose to wait and see if they'd bring the claim. And the one thing I would have told him as a 29-year plaintiff's attorney is they're going to find somebody to bring the claim. So why don't we be proactive and try and get rid of it? But he didn't, and now we'll get to see how it plays out in the legal system, because the guy that represents the Ward estate is the guy that'll try it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think with, if he would have tried to settle the claim with the no admission of guilt deal, I don't personally think that would have been a big deal with sponsors, because I'm sure all those major corporations have settled a claim with somebody with no admission of guilt. So I don't think that would be a big deal.
Oh, absolutely not. I'm just talking about overall appearance. Now he's got to go through this. It's going to have massive press coverage. And he ran over somebody, and it's a negative deal, where if he just would have been proactive and put the thing behind him for some nuisance value type settlement in the grand scheme of his net worth, I think it would have been better for everybody involved, but it didn't happen, so it's kind of a moot point.
Do you know if he maybe tried to make a settlement and they rejected him?
I don't know how that would have not come out if that's what happened, but okay. He may have.
Craig Kelley, personal injury lawyer for Inserra Kelley and former owner and track promoter for Sunset Speedway. We always do love talking to you, bud.
Hey, I'll be back anytime you need me. Thanks.
What else you got going on? I was thinking about you the other night. I was riding down the Wabash Trace, and I was like, I wonder if I'm going to run into Craig here.
You're talking about bicycling stuff? Yeah. We have a dear friend of ours in our Dundee Chain Gang Cycling Club passed away of a heart attack last Halloween, and we do have a memorial ride for him coming up on October 3rd. So if you're a cyclist and you're not a member of the Dundee Chain Gang email list, go to dundeechaingang.com, and we can get you signed up and get you out riding with us and try and get you healthy like the rest of us cyclists try to be.
Did you partake with your other bike and go up to that mess in South Dakota known as Sturgis?
I didn't go this year to Sturgis because it was the 75th anniversary, and they said there was going to be so many people, and all my friends that went, there was 1 million people there, and they just said it was horrid.
I hear about I thought I heard about 1.5 million.
Yeah,
it was the largest crowd I ever heard.
It was stop and go traffic everywhere. Yeah. Lots of accidents. So the one thing I think I was just talking to somebody about this the other day. The older I get, the less I like crowds, And so, I mean, and I'm talking concerts, sporting events, NASCAR races. When I was younger, I loved NASCAR races, and now I just don't want to deal with the parking and the ingress and the egress and everything else, and
constantly bumping into people, waiting in line,
and so and getting jostled in and out of the seats, and so I didn't miss it, but I do love the Black Hills, and any chance anybody gets to go up there and ride, they should take it.
Read between the lines. He says he's getting old.
I'm getting old.
There you go.
Always do appreciate it, Craig. You're welcome back anytime.
Thanks.
Thanks, Craig.
Tom Gutowski and Stan Cisar just around the corner. This is the Front Stretch, presented by Joe's Karting on AM 590, Omaha's ESPN Radio.
Race fans, NASCAR returns to Kansas Speedway Sunday, October 18th. It's the 5th race in the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup. NASCAR's finest are all in, including Jeff Gordon in his final full-time season race at Kansas.
And Jeff Gordon is right where he needs to be.
Park free, coolers welcome. Tickets for the Hollywood Casino 400 Sprint Cup Series race, $99 or less. Kids tickets, just $29 at 866-460-RACE or KansasSpeedway.com.
Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs has taken a page out of IMCA's rulebook and gone crate. These brand new low-emission engines will still have you white-knuckling it all through the Metro's fastest indoor facility. Joe's Karting is now friendly for all skill levels with their brand new Honda-powered engines. It's time to get to Joe's today and find out what drivers like Jack Dover, Shaylee Bate, and Andrew Kosiski have known for years. Located in Council Bluffs and online at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K.
This is Andrew from Kosiski Auto Parts. Kosiski Auto Parts is an insurance-quality used parts supplier that can match your foreign or domestic car or truck needs. If you have a damaged or broke-down car or truck, we guarantee a clean and quality part in next-day fashion. Kosiski Auto Parts, your neighborhood premium recycle parts supplier. Call any Kosiski Auto Parts salesman today by dialing 402-731-4592 or visit us at 5040 I Street in Omaha. Kosiski Auto Parts, our quality used parts will match your car or truck's needs.
We're hooked up in turn 2 and still showing the green flag on the front stretch.
Welcome back to the Front Stretch, heading into turn number 2, brought to you by Kosiski Auto Parts, online at Kosiski.com, located at 51st and I Street, just north of L Street, and at 731-4592, quality used parts at an affordable price. Get to Kosiski Auto Parts today. Get back on the road with your arms and legs still attached. And talking IMCA Super Nationals coming up in just, not too long now. Are you ready for it, Tom? About a week away.
Actually, I think we're right on schedule.
Good.
We'll be fine.
That's a crazy week for you guys. I mean, it's just got to be. I see some of these tracks prepare for a 2-3 day event, and the 2 weeks of prep work that goes into it, and the hair pulling, and the tempers, and the fighting, and you guys are doing this for an entire week.
Yeah, for the. Well, it's probably not the 33rd time it's been a week long, but yeah. I mean, Brett's been there, I think he just said in his column, like 19 years.
Wow.
So, but Lottie and that whole crew, they've been doing it forever. There's a bunch of graybeards running that race now that started out as
young men,
as young men and women, and
yeah.
you know, all those people, they take vacations to be there and work that race.
Mm-hmm. That's crazy
because it's so fun. But it's a ballet that's well orchestrated, and everybody knows what they got to do, where they got to be, and it flows.
Stan Cisar also joining us in the studio, the voice of the Speedway. Stan's going to join us in turn number 3 to talk about the Race Saver Super Nationals that are coming up this coming Sunday, this next Sunday at Friday, Saturday, Sunday at Eagle Raceway. And Stan, as always, feel free to chime in if you got something to talk to Tom about. But Tom, I want to talk about the getting ready for the IMCA Super Nationals at Boone Speedway on Sunday, September 6th is the big tech day. Do you have a few specifics that you're looking for when cars are rolling through techs of the Super Nationals? Like, you probably pay attention to the infractions that are happening all year long. So if you're seeing one certain infraction, do you kind of pay attention while you're at the Super Nationals for that one to stick out and say, guys, that's been an issue all year long, we got to get it fixed?
Well, yeah, there are things. Every year it seems like something else comes up, but then again, every year it's the same things that people aren't paying attention to, and there's only one of me, one of Dave. There's probably 9 people out on the road, but not all of them are tech people. There are regional VPs, so we can only cover so much. We've got 151 plus racetracks.
Yeah.
So,
what are some of the things that drivers and crew members can have done before they even get into the tech inspection line to make things move along quickly?
well, we've encouraged them through the newsletter for those that read it.
For those that read it.
to sit down and with a rule sheet and a friend and their favorite beverage in the shop and start at rule 1 with their safety equipment, not at their personal safety equipment and the equipment on the car, and just read it through line by line and look at their car and see how it compares to what the rule says. They're pretty straightforward. There's not a lot of gray area. We try not to have a lot of gray area. There's probably only one way that you can define the word unaltered.
But there'll be drivers that can try to redefine it.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's like, depends what the definition is, you know. But we usually start out in our rules, if you're used to reading them, that we pretty much set the standard that it's unaltered OEM and OEM location, something like that. And then we say, except you may do this, this, and that.
Okay. And it's got to be, I mean, those row books just make my eyes cross because the words, like I said, I talked about with Craig Kelley last year, big words confuse me, and much over 5 or 6 letters gets me confused.
Well, we try to use small words, too.
Thank you.
Yeah, most of them are small words, but
There's a lot of them.
Yeah.
it's just the interpretation of the racer. I haven't done that for years. I remember we had a rule in just about every class at Sunset except late models, no titanium parts. And the guy'd walk up to you and say, what about valves? And I'd look at him and say, I'm not going to answer that. Well, why not? Well, what's a valve? Well, it's a part. Okay, didn't I say no titanium parts? You just answered it yourself. Yeah, but what about valves?
Yeah.
Just let
Put
me
them
get
in
away
and
with
find
it.
out.
Except not for the Super Nationals. Let's not send people through that. I heard about this big change that you guys did for the tech inspection. Maybe I'm hearing things, but was there a big change last year for the tech inspection process that made things move along pretty smoothly?
Well, we instituted the hard card system.
Okay.
So instead of a guy getting there at 3 o'clock in the morning and getting online, and at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, he's still
In line.
back over there in line.
Well, I mean, it's plain and simple. It's just a lot of cars to get through. And so it's, trying to make things streamlined a little bit. I'm sure there's not much more you could do. So this kind of hard card system is a good idea.
Well, it helps, but we've got a lot. There's 14 of us that are the core tech crew that we have there that have been there for years and years and years and years. So even our guys know what to do, and we assign them jobs. You do this, you do that. You two are going to work as a team and work on the car itself, and then we go through, and we've got a pre-tech sheet that Dave and myself, that's Director of Division Development, Dave Bren, and we work on those together and say, okay, what do we need to do? Like you said, what's something that's cropping up this year? What will we DQ this guy for in the tent, the big tent, if he makes the show? We try to make sure anything that's DQable, we're going to at least look at it.
Yeah.
That way. That doesn't mean they can't change it, and that's why we go to the tent and tear everybody apart.
Yeah.
So,
is there an area for the crewmen and the drivers to kind of watch as the tech inspection is going through, to kind of pay attention to? Okay, there's
driver. We have the driver and probably a crewman in there. I mean,
well, before their car gets in line, if they can watch the process and maybe say, okay, they're really focusing on skirt heights, then I need to go back and make sure my skirt height is right.
Well, I'm sure they could do that, but that's part of reading your rules in your garage with your favorite beverage and your buddy at night and the driver in the car.
What is it? Almost every legend of the Dirt Series has said championships are won in the shop.
Yeah.
Well, tech inspection is done smoothly in the shop.
and really, in all my travels and everything, our core group of racers know what needs to be done.
Mm-hmm.
It's when they put the new body on, and maybe the guy that builds his bodies had a six-pack while he was doing it and forgot how to read a tape measure.
I forget how to read a tape measure. Yeah.
But they're used to. We go around the car with magic markers and that stuff and say, you need to trim that, cut that. I mean, it's not a template thing, but we do have minimums, maximums.
Yeah. How the heck do you remember all these rules? You yourself, I mean, you got 5 divisions, 6 divisions to remember rules for, and they change slightly every year, but they still change. How the heck do you remember all this stuff?
Carries a rule book.
Yeah, I often refer to the rule book. I have one at my desk. I've got one in the kitchen. I've got one in the living room. And I probably got 3 or 4 in the van, a couple in my briefcase, and I always like to read the rule.
Mm-hmm. Well, because you talked about how almost every driver out there has your number, and most officials have your cell phone number, to where if there's an issue on a regular weekly racing night, they could give you a call and get that determination from the actual competition director for IMCA.
You're not going to want to call. You're going to want to text because he won't hear the phone.
That's
He's at a
usually
racetrack.
right.
Yeah, that's true.
But I'm working too and teching there, and but every chance I get, I check my phone. So even if they called, it's usually within 5 minutes or so that I can call them back. But we're the most accessible people, officials, the whole organization. In the front of that book, it's got everybody's cell number, including Brett's, email address, mine, Dave's, Kirk's, our stock car and hobby stock director. And all it takes is a phone call.
Yeah.
You know, to us at the track or during the week even. I mean, I answer my phone way too much probably. I mean, people would think I'm nuts, but I'm single.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't mind doing it.
One thing can be said, though, you know, the strict tech policy. Yeah, I know, talking about the Race Saver Nationals coming up Labor Day weekend, which just precedes your Super Nationals over there. So it's kind of the forerunner, all under the IMCA umbrella. You know, everybody knows it's a level playing field before they get out on the track, and the drivers really appreciate that. You know, if their car is compliant, it's nice for them to be able to know that everybody they're out there racing against is compliant, and we do. This year it'll be 100 cars. We got 2 lines through the tech shed, and they're even going to start some pre-tech, I think, on Wednesday night, and then plus on Thursday on the practice night. But get some of the local guys can maybe get done and get out of the way before the out-of-towners come in on Thursday. But the nice thing about it is everybody goes through that tech shed, and they are compliant before they ever turn a wheel on the racetrack. And that way all the competitors know that they're racing against the same thing that everybody else has got.
You're exactly right. And that's I get that more than anything.
They appreciate it.
I'm not there to DQ you. I'm trying to prove to everybody that you beat them with a legal car.
That's a good way of putting it. I like that saying, too.
Yeah.
Do you have something, bud?
You know?
No, not on that. I mean, I just nod my head because I'm agreeing with him.
I thought you leaned up to the mic. Okay. Anyways, obviously drivers are going to have input into some of the rules. What factor does that come into? Because we talked about it last year in January when we had you on the show and getting people ready for it, that you're constantly taking notes about how to kind of tweak the rule book to make sure everything's running smooth and that it's fair competition for everybody. So how much do drivers and others, like crew members, get input into those possible changes?
Well, I'm taking notes for the group. So we got one set of notes to work off. That doesn't mean Brett doesn't have his own, or Dave or anybody else, but I'm up to 5 pages now. And basically the new one started the day after the rules were published.
Yeah.
Because then we go through and say, how did we miss that? You know, the proofreading process, and somebody moved a graphic and it's covering up the last letter or 2 of the alphabet with a body rule.
Yeah.
Or a comma's missing, or no period.
Yeah.
Well, what's that? I think the Constitution has a typo in it, or there's a comma missing. That if it's a smudge in the Constitution, it means one thing, but if it's if there's not supposed to be a comma there, then it means a whole different thing. So just those little things can really cause havoc.
But to answer your question, we get emails and text, and now that I've joined the 21st century and have a Facebook account, even though it's a personal account, not necessarily an official IMCA account, I get questions over that, and I'm happy to answer them. I mean, again, we're so accessible by any means. And we get some emails that are just crazy. Okay, I read it, you vented, now I'm going to throw it in the trash. 2 other ones that I may highlight and copy and paste whole parts of the email and put it on our sheet as just general information. So we take everybody's input into consideration. We have to think in big numbers because we don't have just 100 modifieds or 1,000 modifieds. You know, we've got 8,000 members.
Yeah. Some of these guys like to offer up things, and it's like, okay, well, that'll work for you at your track, but I've got a lot of different tracks I got to pay attention to, and it's not going to work at most other tracks.
Right.
So your suggestion's just not going to happen.
There's a lot of things that get brought up every year, and everything's going to have its time. Never say never.
Mhm.
You know, I never said never about the quick change, but I didn't know when it was going to happen.
Yeah.
And there was, you know, we already had 3,500 or 4,000 modified guys that had 9-inch Fords and gears, and they could go racing tonight and not spend one extra nickel on a quick change. But it's time came.
Yeah.
And time might come for other things that we keep saying no on, but we're trying to hold it back. And
So what's that deciding factor when the time does change? So what was the deciding factor that changed your mind on the quick changes?
well, I don't know if there was any one thing, but it just made sense when we sat there as a group and talked about it. And we do. We sit there and talk about it, and everybody has input. And we kind of take an informal vote, and it's yay or nay.
It probably determines the cost on the driver, to the cost to the track, to the cost of execution, to implementation,
Right,
to the
right.
there's a lot of factors that go into that. Clarify something for me, because I had this brought up when I was just kind of as I'm getting to learn the sport. So I win the feature at the Boone Super Nationals, and then my engine gets automatically claimed. Can you take me through that process? Because I like the claim process rule for a lot of the sport, because it helps to keep that built the engine in a box, because I'm not going to spend $50,000 on an engine and then have it claimed for $350.
You're not?
That's exactly what I told him. Plenty of guys do. You will be surprised.
Tom, he doesn't want to win bad enough.
No.
His ego isn't quite big enough.
So just walk, because I've heard a couple of people say that if I spend $10,000 on an engine and it gets claimed, I'm gonna get somewhere around $2,000 back, I believe, from the claim process for the Super Nationals. I'm pretty fuzzy on the details, so I'm just trying to get some.
Well, they've got we claim their engine. It used to be that the top four were subject to claim, just like our weekly rules.
Okay.
And they used to take the top four, and then they would auction off those engines. The guy would get paid whatever the claim amount is, and I think at the time it was $550 for a modified engine.
Well, I mean, it was 3 1/4 before that.
Well,
yeah.
it was 3 1/4 for many years. Yes. Yeah. When we truly had junkyard.
It got a little more. It got a little more realistic later on.
Well, but it did its job.
Yeah, most certainly.
You know, you weren't racing against $5,000 or $10,000 motors. You were racing against $2,500 or $3,000 motors, and everybody could race. And we had lots of cars and B features, and life was good. But that was then. This is now. So now they take the winner's engine and auction it off in each division.
If I'm the winner, can I bid on my engine?
Sure, you can have
Okay.
you can have anybody bid on it.
Okay.
And that's often the case.
They taking claim motors too?
Yeah, and now
crate motors,
what
maybe.
they've done is if you had a claim engine and you won, they auction your motor off and they give you another claim engine back.
Okay. What about?
It is obviously not going to be the exact same thing you had, but it's going to be a decent motor.
Okay.
Probably something that the average guy would be more than happy to have. If he's got a crate engine, he gets a brand new crate engine.
Okay. And okay, that answers my question. Can crate engines be claimed also?
Yeah.
Because
Oh,
I
yeah.
thought I read something, and it was an older rule when I was reading.
At
Okay.
the Super Nationals.
Okay.
We don't do it weekly.
Okay.
But at the Super Nationals, we take them and auction them off.
Well, I imagine that you've ran into this a couple of times of just like, what the hell are you guys doing here? Like, what's the craziest thing you've DQ'd somebody for? I mean, just like blatant, like, well, that's clearly a bigger. You've got an extra 2 cylinders in your car.
Mine's run. Mike Collins, like 3 weeks in a row, he'd run the heat and he'd have a 4-barrel on. So we'd go out to look, and because he won by a half a lap, and go out there, and there he is pulling the 4-barrel off. You didn't learn the first 2 times, Mike? Come on.
Probably the most serious mistake that I've ever seen made was qualifying in the A feature for the dance last year, and Kyle Strickler didn't have a wheel sticker on his wheel. That's a basic rule.
Is that like losing $100,000 at Eldora for being 15 pounds?
Well, no, because that's I mean, he's in the A, so he got disqualified from that and had to get right back to the back of the line and go through the process again, and was fortunate enough to get back in. But I mean, that to me, a wheel sticker, that
was an oversight by somebody.
But you know what? It's happened where the guy has gone to one of the wheel manufacturers, bought brand new wheels right there on the grounds of the Speedway, put them on the car, get into the infield after the heat race. Jerry, you got 3 wheels with no stickers. Here it was a goof up, but we don't know that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just is.
No, we went through that a couple of years ago with that chip for Chris Mills up at Sioux City, up at PJ. A guy that I'd been teching just about every week, and almost every week I tech the chip on the mods, and all of a sudden this one's bad. And he goes, "You just checked it last week." I said, "I don't care. It's bad now." And we went all the way to sending it back to MSD. And they said, "Well, the chip's bad, but it doesn't look like it's been messed with. So it just burned out or something."
Right.
Tom Gutowski, competition director for IMCA. Best of luck keeping your wits the next couple of days.
Oh, I'll be good.
Thanks, buddy.
Thank you very much.
Stan Cisar just around the corner. This is the Front Stretch on AM 590, Omaha's ESPN Radio.
Are you looking to book your next outing? Look no further than Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. Located just north of Bass Pro Shop, Joe's Karting can handle outings of well over 100-plus people. Bachelor parties, corporate outings, team building, birthday parties, and much more. Give Buddy a call today and reserve your outing. Joe's will even work with local restaurants to cater your event. Book yours today at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K. It's time to get to Joe's and find out what everyone already knows.
If you love wings, if you love rings, and all kinds of other tempting things, great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Quaker Steak and Lube is the official watering hole for the Front Stretch and the best place to catch all the NASCAR action today. Open at 11 a.m. with delivery available to Council Bluffs.
Great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
The nation's best 360 sprint cars are headed to I-80 Speedway September 18th and 19th for the Midwest Fall Brawl. ASCS National Sprint Cars, A-Mods, B-Mods, and Midwest Stock Car Association all battle at the famed I-80 Speedway. Rico Abreu, Jack Dover, Danny Lasowski, Brian Brown, and many more are among the drivers trying to win the Home Pride Hailstorm Double Down bonus of $20,000 if they win the A feature on both nights. I-80Speedway.com for tickets and info.
Feather the brake and get back to the gas. Dan and Dirk are headed into turn 3 on the Front Stretch.
Heading into turn number 3 here on the Front Stretch, brought to you by Kansas Speedway. They have more tickets now more than ever for just $99 or less. Tickets to the Hollywood Casino 400. It's the fifth race in the chase for the Sprint Cup Series Championship. Happens on October 18th, and they are on sale now. Just call 866-460-RACE or visit KansasSpeedway.com. Don't miss Jeff Gordon's last full race at Kansas Speedway coming up October 18th.
Or visit the Front Stretch 590 at gmail.com and get in our fantasy game and try and win those tickets.
Absolutely. If you're a NASCAR fan and you follow along, I know fantasy gets a little bit scary in people's minds because they think, oh man, I got to sit in a room and I got to look over stats and I got to do this, I got to do that. There's plenty of part-time fantasy people that are winning their butts off in our contest.
And there's only 5 weeks, so it's not like it's going to take you 6 months.
It's free to get into it, and you could win yourself tickets to the Kansas Lottery, the Kansas Lottery 300, the Saturday Xfinity race, and the Sunday Hollywood Casino 400 Sprint Cup Series race. So email us frontstretch590 at gmail.com. Boy, we've been in the studio for a long time tonight. It only feels like we're only halfway done with the show. Stan, how you doing, buddy?
We've had a couple caution flags kind of dragging this thing out a little bit.
Boy, it's been ridiculous. But,
plus Dan got a couple speeding penalties on pit road.
Well, yeah. I had a lawyer and a competition official in here. Now I got my normal tech official, and now I got the voice of the Speedway. I felt like I was just waiting for some tickets and some lawyer fees and everything like that. Craig Kelley called me today and said, boy, this Tony Stewart thing, we could talk for an hour. And I thought, is he billing me to come in here? Because, them lawyers, they get to talking so they can run up that extra hour.
that by the hours in their vocabulary.
All right, Stan, so you've got a busy couple of days coming up. You're going to relax for Monday, Tuesday, kind of take it easy, get some yard work done, but then the stuff starts to hit the fan on Wednesday.
Sure, we'll be doing a lot of last-minute signs and lettering.
Right, yeah, well, yeah, give it outside of your normal action signs work, which you guys do a tremendous job there.
We had a couple cars got dropped off, here just the past couple days, but everybody wanted them by racing this weekend.
Yesterday.
But hopefully we'll have a couple. Actually, we get things rolling tonight. The Sprint Series in Nebraska, Race Saver Sprint Series, is at US 30 Speedway in Columbus, Nebraska. It should be a great show. B-Mods on the card, along with the SLMR late models, and the Sprint Series in Nebraska, race number 7 of the 9-race series this year, and that's been a great series so far. Adam Gulling, the current points leader, Trevor Grossenbacher, Shelley Bay, Jason Martin, Toby Chapman, all the hitters. I mean, it's great racing. We've had good fields of cars, and it's kind of nice to take the sprint cars out on the road and let some of these tracks where the fans don't get to see sprint cars on a regular basis. We're pretty spoiled at Eagle because we see them every week. And, last week we had 30 cars, and for a weekly show, which is just great,
that's great.
The competition was awesome, but we got that thing going on tonight, and then, like you said, kind of Monday and Tuesday, they're actually going to do kind of an unannounced pre-tech for some of the local guys on Wednesday night, and then Thursday, guys are going to be rolling in. Right now, we've got 17 states and Canada represented as far as entries for this year's race, and they're going to be going through the tech shed like we talked about there in Turn 2 with Tom. Every car will go through a technical inspection before they ever turn a wheel out on the racetrack. That'll be going on all day Thursday. Thursday night, a free practice session for the fans. It'll give a lot of the out-of-town guys, some of them making their first appearance at Eagle Raceway, chance to check out the high banks. And then 3 days of racing action kicking off Friday, September the 4th. That'll be going on. We're going to qualify the top 9 cars on Friday night for the first 9 starting positions in our 35-lap A main event. And that'll be going on. Also have qualifying races for the Jake Ida Memorial Race Champions. That'll be coming up on Saturday. We move into Saturday. We'll qualify the remaining cars that haven't qualified, get a chance to come. It's a completely new program. Qualify positions 10 through 18. And they'll have the Jake Ida Memorial Championship. Sport Mods will be on the card along with Hobby Stocks that night. And then on Sunday will be the big Race Saver IMCA Sprint Car Super Nationals. That'll be taking place. They're going to start with all the last chance qualifying features. I'd say this year with over 100 entries so far, we'll probably be down into an F main, maybe a G main, and work our way up to the B main. Top 9 cars in that B main will pick up the final 9 spots. We're going to start 27 cars, 3 wide for 35 laps, and it's going to be an awesome race. It was an awesome race last year, and looking forward to more of the same.
I think the conversation in the pits and pre-race for that feature event on Sunday for that 3-wide start was, are they going to get through turn 1 okay? And I think they actually completed a couple of laps.
Well, actually, yeah, and once they get through turn 1, it's just another race because they filter out. Sometimes they're still 3 wide. Sometimes they filter down to 2. They could be 4 wide. Yeah. In our inaugural year, 2 years ago, we started 2 wide. 25 cars or 24 cars, 2 wide, and we didn't make it to turn 1. And we had them. A couple guys were up on the wing and didn't make it that far. Everybody minded their manners and did a great job. They know it's 35-lap race, and it was awesome.
Sometimes putting them in that situation of needing to stay in their line will help them get through that. If you give them the space of 2 wide, they're going to wreck. But if you tighten them up 3 wide,
they know they're tight. They know they got to hold their line. They got to hold straight. They in 2 wide, they figured we got a little room to play with, and they took it. Sometimes they took a little bit too much. But it's going to be kind of like a miniature Boone Nationals, except for basically one class of cars, and it kicks off the whole IMCA Nationals racing week, so to speak. And there's going to be a lot of other activities going on. They're going to be serving breakfasts and lunch every day. There's going to be autograph sessions. We got Doug Wolfgang will be in the house. His son Robbie's going to be racing this year, and
cool.
He and Bob Trossler are going to be on hand. The first 18 cars that are pre-qualified will be on display in the courtyard area. Big car show on Sunday afternoon. That'll be They'll be signing autographs along with Doug Wolfgang, Bob Trossel. They'll do a book signing down there.
Are we going to get Dolly again?
Oh, no Dolly. We will be Dollyless at this one. But talk about some of the. We've got 101 cars pre-entered so far from 17 states and Canada. Nebraska leading the list with 35 cars. We got 22 cars coming from Texas. 6 cars from Virginia, 10 cars from Minnesota. We've got cars from North Dakota, Wisconsin, South Dakota, Kansas, Iowa, Tennessee, Indiana, Colorado, California, Oklahoma, Saskatchewan, one from Pennsylvania and North Carolina. Darren Bolak will be up again from North Carolina, and he was pretty tough. I believe he made it up to the B main last year. So
any Aussies going to be in the field? I imagine we'll see a couple of them.
I think we've got one Aussie that's he's now residing in the States, but he's originally Australian. And this race of champions, just to qualify for that, you have to be either a past track champion, a past national champion in the top 20 in national points, or be either first or second in your track championship hunt this year in 2015 or in any of the different tours that are going on. And I think we've got all the way back to 2011 past national champions are all going to be there. And there's going to be a lot of talent in this deal. But I think they're going to have their hands full because I think the Nebraska guys are just about as tough as any. Mm-hmm. And one guy in particular, and he picked up the win last Sunday night over at Eagle Raceway. They were rained out, and then we talked about that on last week's show. But thing about it is, Jason Martin, he was involved in that first turn crash the opening year. He had to start last. He raced his way all the way up to third. Last year, he was leading, pretty much going away, and they had a big crash in turns 1 and 2. And leading on the restart, took the green flag, went down into turn 1, cut a tire down, and caught the fence. Had to come from the back again, raced his way all the way back into 8th. And who knows, could it have been a piece of debris that cut the tire, whatever. But he's one guy, he feels like he let a couple of them really get away from him last couple of years. First year, our winner was from Albuquerque, New Mexico. Kyle McCutcheon picked up the win. Of course, our very own Jack Dover, he's kind of swept the weekend. He picked up the Memorial Race Champions last year, as well as the IMCA Nationals driving. And there's rumors that he's working on a ride to possibly be entered again this year, and we haven't confirmed anything yet. But I know there's a couple cars out there that he could slip right into, that he's got some buddies out there that are pre-entered already. So it's going to be – basically, it's just going to be a great racing weekend, and they got a great deal for the fans. If you buy a 3-day pass, it's $30, which is basically your weekly admission to see this caliber of field of cars. That's almost unheard of.
And you're saving, I think, what, $15 or $20 by doing that?
$20 by doing that, yeah. And if you're going to go all 3 days, why not pick up the 3-day pass and take advantage of the. Like I said, I'm really looking forward to it. I've been excited about it for the last couple months, and the way this division has progressed, not only in our backyard, but nationally, it's the fastest growing deal. I think since IMCA came on board as a sanctioning body in 2015, I think they've got well over 1,000 registered Race Saver engines across the United States.
Wow.
That's a lot of people competing in one class.
Yeah, that's for sure. And first year we had 56 entries. Last year we had 75 entries, and we think that might have been down a little bit. Some people were maybe skeptical of that 3-wide start, but they pulled it off without a hitch. This year we're at 101, and I expected to, that we ought to have some drop-ins. I'm thinking as long as nobody crashes or does anything crazy, here the week before. But
well, and it's good racing. I mean, I was down there for the rain out last week.
Well, what'd you think of the action?
Oh, it was a good show. That the sprint feature got a little strung out. But that's going to happen. But the heats were all racy heats. All the other features, there was a lot of racing. And,
all night long, actually.
And watching the sprint cars in particular, I didn't see anybody shoot for a gap that wasn't there. I mean, and that made the night go by. Nobody got upside down,
We had one caution flag in that sprint feature, and it was by a guy that, Tyler Drucke, he knows his way around. He's got 2 feature wins on the year, and like I said, he just slipped up a little bit and it did a 360 down there in the corner and threw the yellow flag on that, but very easily maybe could have went green, white, checkered.
Oh, yeah. And if it had, I don't know if Shaylee would have held on. She had a little bit of a lead, but I don't know if she'd have held on, but she'd have definitely held on for second.
I'll tell you what, like I told her in the Winter Circle interviews, running third against this crowd here, this bunch of guys that are in this division, two runs in particular impressed me. Trevor Grossenbacher coming out of the 12th hole to second, and Joey Danley was the last transfer out of a B feature that could have been an A feature, a 15-car B feature, taking the top 5. Joey Danley came out in that 5th and final transfer, started 20th and raced his way all the way up to 4th.
Oh, yeah. Well, Grossenbacher just got Shaylee there with about 2 or 3 laps to go. If that would have gone green-white checker, she never would have got caught by him, but I think Martin was going to pass her one way or the other. He was closing hard.
Martin's awful tough, and few people realize or remember how long Jason Martin's been around racing a sprint car. I think he started as a teenager, and he did some time with the World of Outlaws, in his learning curve years, and he has evolved into one tough racer.
What's some big need to know for this coming weekend for the Race Saver Super Nationals Eagle Raceway for fans before they get out there?
I think you're going to want to get there early, get your favorite seat, and we're going to do our best, to give you all the information. We've been doing our homework with 101 cars from that many different states, but a lot of them are guys that have been there. This is their third trip, and everybody, almost to a driver that's been there before, comes back because they love the event. They love the hospitality of the folks in Eagle and the race fans. They love their sprint cars in Lincoln, Nebraska. And it's like I said, it's going to be a great event.
People need to eat often, drink often, and don't forget to tip your waitress.
Because everybody likes waitresses with big tips.
That's right.
Coming up the following week, we got the annual Nebraska Cup. We're bringing the National Sprint League 410 sprint cars back for that one, and the Precise Racing Products Sprint Series in Nebraska Race Saver Series will also be back. It's going to be, 2 classes of sprint cars that night, so it's going to be great for sprint car fans. That's coming up on Friday night, September the 11th.
A lot of racing action still to come. I know we're going to be live the weekend after that, so the Sunday after that Friday race. So we'll make sure. I know we're going to be live next weekend. In fact, you know what? Let's take a quick break. We'll come back at turn number 4, and Dirk and I will break down what all is going on over the next couple of weeks for the front stretch. But Stan, always do appreciate you joining us in the studio to keep us in line with what's going on with the sprint car world.
Yep, no problem.
Thanks, Stan.
We'll be back. We'll be back here on the front stretch.
The nation's best 360 sprint cars are headed to I-80 Speedway September 18th and 19th for the Midwest Fall Brawl. ASCS National Sprint Cars, A-Mods, B-Mods, and Midwest Stock Car Association all battle at the famed I-80 Speedway. Rico Abreu, Jack Dover, Danny Lasowski, Brian Brown, and many more are among the drivers trying to win the Home Pride Hailstorm Double Down bonus of $20,000 if they win the A feature on both nights. I80Speedway.com for tickets and info.
One of the hardest things to find in the world is a trusted mechanic. Your car breaks down. You need someone that won't see you as an opportunity to pad their wallet. Jim at Tuffy Tire and Auto Service in Bellevue is that person. From brake and AC inspections to custom exhaust and new tires, Tuffy Tire and Auto Service in Bellevue is your new trusted source for getting your car back on the road. Find them on Facebook at Tuffy Tire and Auto Service Center of Bellevue and online at tuffybellevue.com.
Race fans, NASCAR returns to Kansas Speedway Sunday, October 18th. It's the 5th race in the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup. NASCAR's finest are all in, including Jeff Gordon in his final full-time season race at Kansas.
And Jeff Gordon is right where he needs to be.
Park free, coolers welcome. Tickets for the Hollywood Casino 400 Sprint Cup Series race, $99 or less. Kids tickets, just $29 at 866-460-RACE or KansasSpeedway.com.
Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs has taken a page out of IMCA's rulebook and gone crate. These brand new low-emission engines will still have you white-knuckling it all through the Metro's fastest indoor facility. Joe's Karting is now friendly for all skill levels with their brand new Honda-powered engines. It's time to get to Joe's today and find out what drivers like Jack Dover, Shaylee Bate, and Andrew Kosiski have known for years. Located in Council Bluffs and online at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K.
It's checkers or wreckers as we enter turn 4 on the front stretch, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs.
Just about ready to wrap this baby up, heading into turn number 4 here on the front stretch, brought to you by Quaker Steak and Lube at Council Bluffs, online at thelube.com / I believe it's /Council Bluffs. Best place to find them is on their Facebook page. They'll take good, care of you. Coming up in a couple of weeks, September 10th is the last night to bring out your classic car and get registered for the big Napa Toolbox they'll be giving away. A lot of people getting registered for that. A lot of really cool cars been going out the last couple of weeks, especially with as beautiful as it's been. The guys are wanting to get their cars out and just put them on display. So if you get a chance, come out Thursday nights for classic car cruising, and then we're going to give away the Napa Toolbox on that September 10th. So stuff going on at Quaker Steak and Lube. Did you ever see the pictures when they did that Touch-A-Truck last Monday that I was talking about?
Yeah, First Data used to do that, so I've been to the First Data ones where they get all the kids, and it's a pretty cool deal. I've got a nephew that's now in college, but when he was like 3, he was up to visit, and I got a buddy that's got dump trucks, and that's all my brother said. We got to take him to see Danny's trucks, and he touched that dump truck. It was just ooh.
Yeah, I know. I was joking with the organizers of it, Jamie and Chris. Jamie's the marketing director for Quaker Steak, and I said, on the surface, it's a kid's thing, but I want to sit in a backhoe too. I mean, I grew up on the farm. I mean, I spent a lot of my childhood in a tractor with my father, but I still want to sit in a backhoe and in a dump truck. And so Jesse Sobbing showed up. Luke had him bring out his modified, and I got a little excited. I'm sitting there, I'm like, well, that's kind of cool. But then I'm like, I see this every weekend at the track. Why am I amazed by this? But anyways, it was a really cool event, and it was the last one they had for the year. But you can check out their Facebook page at Quaker Steak and Lube and find out when they're going to do it again. They may try to do one for September. It just kind of depends on the weather. But had a helicopter, had one of our station vehicles over there. It was a really cool thing. So the next couple of weeks, man, we're busy with the show. We got a lot of racing to cover.
That's a good thing.
That is a very good thing. Obviously, today, no racing going on for NASCAR, so you can catch all the NFL action at Quaker Steak and Lube. But tonight, the SLMR Series and the Sprint Series in Nebraska, the 305 Race Savers are going to be at US 30. And then the IMCA Race Saver 305 Nationals kick off this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at Eagle Raceway. Again, Darlington is coming up next Sunday night, so that's the next NASCAR race, and we are going to be live for that race because we're going to be covering all the action from the first 2 days of the Race Saver Super Nationals at Eagle Raceway. So we'll get some audio for that. We'll talk to Stan Cisar about what's going on there. Plus, we will preview Darlington and kick off the Kansas Speedway 5-week contest for that.
Yep, everybody get those picks in. You got friends, get them signed up because maybe they don't want to go to the race, but if they win the tickets, they'll give them to you.
Exactly. Then the following weekend, September 13th, there's no NASCAR race because it's the night before on the 12th, which would be Richmond, and that's the last chance to get into the Cup race or into the Cup Series. So we'll review Richmond. We're going to be live that day because we're going to be reviewing Richmond. Plus, we'll talk to Stan Cisar about the Nebraska Cup, what's going on, what happened with that, and then we'll preview the Midwest Fall Brawl going on at I-80 Speedway.
We'll probably be talking a little bit about the IMCA Nationals.
Yep, we'll talk about that a little bit. Then the following weekend, the 20th, we're live again. And by the way, all these weekends that we're live, I've got trivia ready to go. We've got a ton of stuff to give away, so we'll be throwing out the phone number to call in and win prizes to win autographed hero cards and wristbands and coolers and all sorts of cool stuff from all the different racing communities. September 20th, which is the kickoff to the 2015 NASCAR's Chase to the Sprint Cup Championship at Chicagoland. We're going to be live that weekend because we're going to be recapping the action from the Midwest Fall Brawl. Plus, we'll get you previews from Chad. Chad Robb's going to join us on the phone to talk about his picks for the Chase. We'll preview the whole Chase as a whole, plus Chicagoland that weekend. So that's September in a nutshell for us. A lot of stuff going on.
If you want to, you can also get over to NASCAR.com. They've got a whole bunch of Chase games to be played. They got a bracket to fill out, and I think they're paying $1 million or something if somebody would happen to hit a perfect bracket.
I didn't get anywhere close. I think my bracket was busted after the first round last year.
My bracket was busted after the first race last year.
Remember a couple of weeks ago when we filled out that quick sheet of paper, not the actual bracket, but that sheet of paper we were talking about with I think there was 12 races to go before the Chase started. And we were kind of picking the drivers we thought were going to win. We haven't gotten a single one right.
Imagine that.
Yeah, imagine that. But you're doing very good in the overall pick'ems contest. You're actually beating the fantasy expert.
Yeah, I've been practicing at home.
Yeah, you're doing really good in that. But in the 5-week Midwest Fall Brawl contest, you did well in that, except Tony let you down with that. Was that Watkins Glen when he broke and got 1 point? 1 point. That's kind of I think that just kind of rubs dirt in the wound a little bit more.
Yeah, I don't think I had anybody lower than 7th in the other 4 races. But that 1 pointer, that'll get you.
Yeah, that's a contest killer. So, if you want more information on the next contest, which kicks off September 6th at Darlington, feel free to email us for the Kansas Speedway contest, frontstretch590@gmail.com. We'll shoot you an email back with all the information and how to participate in it. It's completely free, and we've got over $4,500 worth of prizes that we're giving away for that contest. All that stuff that we managed to get from Kansas Speedway, it's worth $4,500.
I think we should just sell it all, go to the casino, and see if we can double it.
Deal. With that note, we'll be back next weekend to do it all live. This is The Front Stretch, presented by Joe's Karting on AM 590, Omaha's ESPN Radio.
One of the hardest things to find in the world is a trusted mechanic. Your car breaks down. You need someone that won't see you as an opportunity to pad their wallet. Jim at Tuffy Tire and Auto Service in Bellevue is that person. From brake and AC inspections to custom exhaust and new tires, Tuffy Tire and Auto Service in Bellevue is your new trusted source for getting your car back on the road. Find them on Facebook at Tuffy Tire and Auto Service Center of Bellevue and online at tuffybellevue.com.
We have all been there before. Broken car part in your hand and some snot-nosed punk behind the counter has no idea what he's talking about, but he guarantees that this part will fix your car. You pay an arm and a leg for the replacement, get it home, and sure enough, it doesn't fit your car. Now, learn from your mistake and give an experienced salesperson at Kosiski Auto Parts a call today at 402-731-4592. Kosiski Auto Parts will get you back on the road with your arms and legs still attached.
If you love wings, if you love rings, and all kinds of other tempting things, great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Quaker Steak and Lube is the official watering hole for the front stretch and the best place to catch all the NASCAR action today. Open at 11 a.m. with delivery available to Council Bluffs.
Great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Are you looking to book your next outing? Look no further than Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. Located just north of Bass Pro Shop, Joe's Karting can handle outings of well over 100 plus people. Bachelor parties, corporate outings, team building, birthday parties, and much more. Give Buddy a call today and reserve your outing. Joe's will even work with local restaurants to cater your event. Book yours today at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K. It's time to get to Joe's and find out what everyone already knows.